The moment we stepped through, the air hit different. Thicker, heavier, like syrup filling my lungs. Velkin's world wasn't the glowing kingdom Sarah had first fallen for. The trees here leaned in close, bark gnarled and pulsing with faint veins of green light, roots snaking across the ground like waiting traps. Every sound echoed too long. Every breath carried like it was being measured. The merc scanned the tree line, his pistol loose but ready. "Boss, I don't like it. Feels like the whole forest is watching." He wasn't wrong. The weight of unseen eyes pressed against my back with every step. Naya, though, walked without hesitation. The stuffed rabbit dangled from her arm, her gaze steady, sharp. "The ring's pulling harder," she said flatly. "It knows we're here." A voice carried on the air then, smooth and mocking, the trees themselves bending it toward us. "Grumpy," it said, drawn out like a taunt. "You came back." My blood froze. Velkin's voice, without a body to carry it, slid through the branches like wind. I clenched the axe tighter and shouted into the dark. "I'm here for Sarah." "You hear me, Velkin? I'm not leaving without her." The merc shot me a wary glance. "Boss, maybe we don't announce ourselves." Velkin's voice came again, sweet as poison. "But why hide, Grumpy? She misses you. Sarah whispers your name every night. She wants you here with me. You could stay forever." My grip on the axe tightened until my knuckles ached. I said nothing, holding the silence. Velkin's voice slithered back, amused. "So quiet, Grumpy." "I'll take that as a challenge. Sarah's waiting for you. Come find her." Before I could answer, the ground groaned. Bushes erupted upward, twisting, thickening, thorned brambles weaving themselves into walls. In seconds, a maze stretched out before us, stretching high overhead, cutting off the way back. The path behind us sealed shut with a hiss of thorn and root. "Yeah," the merc muttered, running a hand over the brambles. "That's subtle." The labyrinth smelled of sap and rot. The paths narrowed just wide enough for us to move in single file. Every turn looked the same, yet the ring burned hotter, tugging me like a compass. "It's tied to him," I muttered. "To his home." I glanced up, and through a gap in the canopy, I caught sight of it far in the distance. The giant tree, its trunk swollen like a castle of wood and bone. "That's where he's keeping her." The merc followed my gaze. Big damn tree. Figures he'd live in a place that ugly. He gave me a look that almost passed for a grin. "Lead on, boss." We pressed forward. The labyrinth shifted with every step. Walls breathing, vines twitching, thorns brushing close enough to nick exposed skin. Echoes followed us. Footsteps that didn't belong to us. Whispers that used our voices. Laughter that wasn't laughter at all. At one bend, the merc muttered low. "Boss, you sure that kid's worth the trouble?" "She's not just a kid," I said. "She's my best friend. I promised I'd come back for her, and I will." He nodded once, didn't argue, but his eyes flicked back to Naya. She didn't look at him. She only whispered to the walls like she was scenting the air. "He knows you're here," she said to me. "And he's not afraid." I swallowed hard, the ring scorching against my skin. The labyrinth closed, and the deeper we went, its walls twitching like living muscle. The vines trembled whenever we brushed against them, as though tasting our presence. Each step felt stolen. The merc kept his pistol raised, muttering under his breath, but every sound carried too far. Even a cough bounced back a dozen times, like the maze itself mocked us. Velkin's voice threaded through the air, never from one place, always circling. "She misses you, Grumpy."
Sarah asks for you. She waits in the roots, dreaming of the day you'll join her. Don't keep her waiting.
I clenched my jaw and pressed forward. Saying nothing seemed safer, but my silence only seemed to feed him. His chuckle ran down the walls, the thorns quivering as though they laughed too. The path split into 3, each identical, each swallowing light. The ring on my hand throbbed, burning hotter when I turned left. "This way," I said. My voice came out hoarse. "He's pulling me to him." The merc snorted. "Great. Following the evil jewelry. That's always worked out well in stories." He gave me a look, half serious, half teasing, trying to hide his nerves. "Don't go Gollum on me, boss." We took the left path. Almost at once, the forest answered back. A low rumble shook the ground, then pounding hooves thundered behind us. The merc swore, spun, and fired into the dark. Shapes burst from the brambles, dozens of deer, their eyes blank and glowing, antlers tangled with vines. They charged, a wall of muscle and bone. "Move!" I shouted. The 3 of us threw ourselves aside, slamming against the bramble walls as the herd stampeded past. The air reeked of moss and rot, their bodies brushing too close. One antler snagged my jacket, tearing a line across my ribs before I yanked free. The herd disappeared into the labyrinth, swallowed as quickly as it had appeared. Naya straightened, brushing dirt from her dress. Her voice was calm, too calm. "He's testing us. Weakening us before the hunt." The merc's hand shook as he reloaded, but he forced a crooked grin. "Kid's got a gift for pep talks." He glanced at me. "Boss, I'm starting to think your buddy Velkin doesn't want to roll out the welcome mat." Velkin's voice slithered through again, softer now, almost tender. "Every cut makes you tastier, Grumpy. Every drop of blood brings you closer to me. Sarah already knows this. Soon, you will too." I tightened my grip on the axe and pushed forward. The maze shifted around us, shadows stretching, branches twitching like teeth. Every step pulled us closer to the tree in the distance, but the forest wanted its price first. The ground squelched beneath my boots, sticky, damp, like walking through a wound. The merc muttered curses, his pistol sweeping every direction, while Naya drifted forward calm and steady, rabbit dangling, eyes gleaming like she already knew where the path would end. Velkin's voice seeped through the living walls, slick with amusement. "Closer, little Grumpy. Always closer. She's waiting. So patient. So sweet." I clamped my mouth shut, teeth grinding. The merc gave me a small nod. Approval. Velkin thrived on words. He would get none from me. The wall suddenly shivered, brambles rattling, then split open into a wider corridor. The ground quaked, a deep rumble building into a roar. "Boss," the merc warned, raising his weapon. "Something's coming." It hit like thunder. A herd of shadow stag bursting through the wall of the maze, antlers laced with thorns, eyes glowing pale green. They poured into the corridor, dozens of them, a wall of muscle and jagged bone. There was no time to run. "Move!" I shoved at Naya and the merc, but she was already pushing us back, hands raised, fire flickering along her fingers. She screamed, and a jet of flame erupted, cutting across the herd. The creatures reeled, thrashing, the smell of burning fur and bark choking the air. "Go!" she shouted, shoving us with a force that wasn't visible, like being slammed by an invisible pillow. The merc and I tumbled sideways into another passage, thorns tearing at us as we landed hard on the dirt. I scrambled up, turning back. Naya was rising into the air, fire roaring from her hands in a brutal torrent. The entire herd ignited at once, shrieking as flames consumed fur and bark alike. One by one, the elk collapsed in smoldering heaps, the corridor filled with the stink of charred flesh. She drifted back toward the ground, hair wild, eyes blazing, only for roots to lash out from the walls, curling and snapping around her arms and legs. She fought them with blasts of flame, each strike searing the vines black, but they multiplied faster than she could burn them. With a violent yank, they dragged her screaming form into the bushes, vanishing from sight. Her stuffed rabbit hit the ground, left behind in the dirt. "Kid," the merc roared, firing until his clip clicked empty. But the bushes swallowed her, dragging her screaming form into the shadows. The brambles sealed shut behind her, leaving only silence. I stared at the rabbit on the ground, chest heaving. My hand shook as I picked it up. The merc put a hand on my shoulder, his face grim. "Boss." "No," I whispered, clutching the toy so tight it hurt. "She's not gone. Not like Sarah. We're getting her back." Velkin's laugh poured through the walls, gloating. "One by one, little Grumpy. The forest takes what it wants. How many will you lose before you break?" The merc reloaded with a snap, jaw tight. "Then we make him bleed before he gets the chance." I tucked the rabbit into my pack, my chest burning. First Sarah. Now Naya. The forest could take everything else, but it wouldn't take my vow. I would burn it all down before I let that happen. The forest seemed to sigh after Naya vanished, as if satisfied. The walls of the labyrinth pressed closer, branches twitching with hunger. Every step forward felt like sinking deeper into something designed to swallow us whole. The merc kept his weapon ready, eyes scanning, but I could see it in the twitch of his jaw. He knew we were walking straight into Velkin's hands. Velkin's voice slithered out again, softer now, almost tender. "She was so easy to take. So trusting. Like the other one, Sarah misses you, Grumpy. She dreams of you. She wants you here, beside her. You could all be together forever." I bit down hard on my tongue, refusing to answer. My silence only seemed to please him. His chuckle rumbled low, crawling along the walls. "Ah, so stubborn. That's why I like you. That's why you taste better." The merc shook his head, muttering, "Guy's a real charmer." Then louder toward me, "Boss, don't let him get to you. He's playing with us. That's all this is." The path opened into a clearing ringed by thorns. In the center rose a gnarled tree, its trunk split like a mouth. From the hollow stepped Sarah. Her hair was tangled, her skin pale, her dress torn. She moved like a puppet, eyes half-lidded, unfocused. She looked right at me and smiled. "Grumpy," she whispered. The sound of her voice hit like a knife under the ribs. "Come inside, it's warm here." My knees buckled, breath catching in my chest. I had imagined her like this 1,000 times since escaping, but not like this. Not hollow, not controlled. I took a step forward before the merc grabbed my shoulder. "Boss, that's not her. Not really." Velkin's form rippled into view behind her, tall and twisted, antlers stretching into the canopy. His grin split wide, all teeth and shadow. "She's still yours, Grumpy." She speaks for herself. "Don't you want to join her?" I felt my resolve shake, my chest cracking open with the need to believe her words. Sarah's lips trembled, her voice breaking. "Come back for me. You promised." My heart screamed to run to her, but my gut burned with rage. Velkin was using her, pulling her strings like a puppet to break me. I forced my hand to my axe, fingers trembling as I tightened my grip. The merc's voice was low, urgent. "Boss, it's him. It's always him. Don't let him win." I swallowed hard, staring into Sarah's hollow eyes. I whispered back, more to myself than anyone. I promised. I'll keep that promise. But not like this. Not his way. Velkin's grin widened, his voice booming now, mocking. Then fight, little grumpy. Let's see how long your vow lasts when the forest eats you alive. The ground trembled. Roots ripped from the soil, lashing outward like whips. The walls around us pulsed, sealing us in, and Velkin's laughter filled the clearing as the forest prepared to devour me whole. The clearing exploded into chaos. Roots whipped like serpents, striking hard enough to split bark and gouge stone. The merc fired round after round, each shot echoing through the hollow trunk above us. Splinters rained down as bullets tore through writhing branches, but more kept coming, lashing at our legs and arms, trying to drag us into the soil. Velkin stepped forward from the hollow of the tree, his antlers scraping the canopy, his grin wide and terrible. His voice shook the clearing. You promised her, Grumpy. You'd come back for her. Now you're in my forest with me forever. I swung the axe, severing a root that had wrapped around my ankle. Sap gushed out like blood, and the severed length writhed on the ground before dissolving into black mist. She's my best friend, I spat, chest heaving. I swore I'd come back. But not as your puppet. The merc gave a sharp laugh as he reloaded, forcing bravado through gritted teeth. That's the spirit, boss. Show him what forever really looks like. Velkin raised a hand. Thrall shambled from the tree line, pale bodies stitched from vines and bone. Their eyeless faces turned toward us, arms jerking as they lurched forward. The merc dropped 2 with clean shots, but 3 more surged in their place. One caught his arm, dragging claws down his sleeve. He smashed its skull with the butt of his gun, but his eyes flicked to me, urgency plain. Boss, we're not winning this standing still. I roared and charged, swinging the axe in a brutal arc that split one thrall clean down the middle. The ring on my finger burned like molten iron, pulsing with every strike. My vision blurred, the forest tilting, but I pressed forward, hacking and slashing, the sound of splitting wood and cracking bone mixing with Velkin's laughter. Sarah cries for you, Velkin taunted, his voice echoing from every direction. She begs for you, and you leave her waiting. How cruel, little Grumpy. Shut up! I shouted, throat raw. My axe bit deep into another thrall, its body collapsing into twitching vines. Rage boiled in my chest hotter than the fire in the ring. I'll burn this place to ash before I let you keep her. The merc shouted, Boss! Left! I spun in time to block a root that shot toward me, slicing it clean before it could pierce my chest. More roots came. Faster. Velkin's laughter rising as the ground itself turned hostile. We moved back to back. Me with the axe. The merc with his gun. Every strike a desperate bid to keep from being swallowed whole. Velkin loomed larger now, his form less man and more beast, antlers twisting into a crown of thorns. He stepped into the fight at last, his shadow stretching across us like a second night. Enough games, he snarled, his voice deep as thunder. Come and die, little Grumpy. The forest surged, and the battle for Sarah's soul truly began. Velkin surged forward, and the clearing quaked beneath his weight. The roots answered his call, lashing upward like spears. The merc pulled me down just as one shot overhead, snapping a branch clean in 2. Boss, keep moving, he barked, blasting another thrall that clawed out of the soil. We fought our way toward the hollow of the great tree, where Sarah's broken form still lingered in the shadows. My chest seized at the sight of her, eyes half-lidded, lips twitching with words Velkin forced through her mouth. Grumpy, she whispered, her voice strained, hollow. Stay. Please. Forever.
Velkin towered above her, his grin stretching wide, teeth long and sharp as daggers. She wants you here. She needs you here. And you, so desperate to keep your promise, you'd make the sweetest offering of all. I gripped the axe so tight my knuckles split. My thoughts fractured, torn between rage and the hollow pull of her voice. The merc shoved me hard. Boss, look at me. That's not Sarah talking. That's him, you know it. Roots shot up around us, a cage closing in. Velkin raised both hands, his shadow swallowing the firelight, and the thralls shrieked in chorus, rushing us from every side. My axe cut through 2, but 3 more clawed for my throat. The merc stepped into the storm, his gun spitting fire until the barrel smoked. He dropped another magazine, slammed it in, and barked, "Boss, you focus on him. I've got these bastards." Velkin's laughter rumbled like an earthquake, mocking, triumphant. "Fight all you like, little grumpy." Every swing, every bullet, it feeds me. You are a storm inside my forest, and still I remain. I felt the ring blaze on my hand, searing the flesh beneath. Power crawled up my arm like molten iron, and with it came a vision of fire, of the whole forest burning bright enough to blot out Velkin's shadow. My teeth clenched, my body trembling under the weight of it. The merc slammed his shoulder into me, snapping me back to the fight. "Boss, don't lose it now. You still got a promise to keep." I snarled, lifting the axe again. Velkin's antlers gleamed in the half-light, his eyes glowing sickly green. His voice filled the clearing, vast and terrible. "I will take you, Grumpy. Your flesh, your vow, your name. I will carve you into the roots of this place, and she will watch as you beg." I spat blood onto the soil, my grip steady. "Come and try," Velkin roared, and the forest roared with him. The real fight had begun. The clearing convulsed as Velkin bore down on us, his shadow blotting out the last scraps of light. Roots crashed down like spears. Thralls poured from the tree line in numbers that made the ground quake. I swung until my arms went numb, the axe cleaving vine and bone, but it wasn't enough. For every monster I split, 2 more dragged themselves forward, eyes glowing hollow green. The merc fought like a man possessed, gunfire snapping through the din, every bullet landing true. He caught my arm and shoved me behind him when roots stabbed through the earth like pikes. "Boss, listen to me. This bastard doesn't want me. He wants you. You've got to keep moving, get closer, end him." "I'm not leaving you," I snapped, rage boiling hot in my chest. "Not like I left Sarah. Not again." The merc flashed a grin, teeth bloodied, sweat plastering his hair to his forehead. "You hired me to do a job. Let me do it. Half now, half after, remember?" A massive root exploded from the ground, wide as a tree trunk, hurtling straight for me. The merc threw himself in front of it, unloading his rifle point blank. The shot split the root, but it lashed anyway, curling around his body like a python. He roared in pain as it squeezed, bones cracking under the pressure. "Boss!" he shouted, forcing his gun into my hands. His voice broke but carried one last thread of humor. "Don't screw this up. Don't let him take you." His eyes locked on mine, and in that moment he wasn't just some hired gun. He was a brother. He gave me a nickname once. And now, it was the last word he'd ever give me. "Go get him, boss." The root crushed tight, dragging him screaming into the soil. His rifle clattered in my grip, hot from his last volley. Then there was only silence where he had stood. My chest tore open with grief and fury. I gripped the rifle until my hand shook, the axe still burning in my other fist. "Velkin!" I roared, voice breaking, spitting blood into the soil. "I swear I'll tear this whole forest down if I have to." "You're not keeping anyone!"
Velkin's laughter shook the trees, deep and cruel. "One more broken promise to feed me, little grumpy. Run, scream, fight. It all tastes the same."
But I wasn't broken. Not yet. The Merc's sacrifice burned inside me like fuel, and I surged forward, eyes locked on Velkin's twisted form, ready to drive steel into his heart. Velkin's body loomed over me, his antlers splitting the canopy, his shadow bending the clearing into night. His claws flexed, roots curling upward as though the whole forest bent to his hunger. "Alone now," he hissed, voice stretched thin like tearing bark. "Your brother in arms feeds the soil, Sarah feeds the roots, and you, Grumpy, you'll feed me." My knees shook, grief still raw and heavy, but rage carried me upright. I hefted the Merc's rifle, gripping it in my hands. "You're not taking me," I spat, "and you're sure as hell not keeping her."
Velkin advanced, every step sinking the ground, roots bursting like veins. I shouldered the Merc's rifle and unloaded, each shot thundering into his chest and shoulders. The bullets tore bark like flesh and sap hissed like acid, splattering across the ground. The rifle clicked empty, smoking hot in my hands. I dropped it and rolled, swinging upward with the axe, biting deep into his side. Velkin roared, his antlers crashing into branches, shaking the clearing. "You dare," he bellowed, "to wound me in my own realm."
"I promised her," I snarled, driving forward with another swing. "I promised I'd come back." The thralls poured in again, their eyeless faces shrieking, arms like hooks. I fought like an animal, each strike wild, desperate. My blade cleaved vines, my fist slammed bone, every breath raw. They dragged at my shoulders, clawed at my legs, but grief and rage carved strength out of me I didn't know I had. Each kill was for the Merc. Each strike was for Sarah. Velkin's laughter cracked overhead, jagged and cruel. "Your words mean nothing. You will be mine." He lashed forward, his hand closing on my chest, claws raking deep. Fire shot through me, the ring searing white hot. I screamed, raising the axe one-handed, driving it into his arm until the bone cracked. The ground split beneath us. Roots whipped out to strangle me, but fire cut them back, flame that wasn't mine. A blast seared the clearing, turning the thralls to ash in an instant. Velkin staggered, his grin faltering as smoke curled around us. I looked up. Naya stood on a ridge of twisted roots, eyes burning bright, her dress tattered from the struggle. She raised one small hand, and flame spun in her palm, growing into a wolf's head of fire. "You're not the only one with a forest behind you," she said, her voice calm, cold.
Velkin recoiled, shadows writhing. "The wolf child," he spat, hate dripping from his tongue. "You dare tread in my domain?" Naya stepped forward, and 3 stuffed animals tumbled from her backpack, charred toys that hit the ground with dull thuds. In an instant they twisted and expanded, fur stretching into hide, button eyes burning into coals. One became a hulking bear with claws of flame, another a fox with a mane of embers, and the third a raven with wings dripping sparks. They screeched and roared, launching themselves into the thralls with savage force. The bear swung its molten claws, ripping 2 thralls in half and leaving trails of flame where the strikes landed. The fox darted low, weaving between roots, its ember mane flaring as it tore into eyeless faces with snapping jaws. Above, the raven swooped, wings unfurling sheets of sparks that set writhing vines alight, before driving its beak into a thrall's skull. the forest filled with shrieks, smoke, and the stench of burning flesh as fire and shadow clashed in a frenzy of violence. Naya's gaze never left Velkin. You took his friend. You took what wasn't yours. Now I'm taking everything from you. The air crackled, roots burning back, shadows splitting. And for the first time, Velkin's laughter broke. Not triumph, but fear. Velkin staggered back, clutching the wound where my axe had bit, sap leaking like black tar. His eyes narrowed into slits, glowing with a hatred so sharp it pierced the air. The monsters Naya had unleashed tore into his thralls, fire painting the clearing in wild strokes of red and orange. For the first time, the Leshy looked less like a king of the forest and more like a beast being cornered. Do you think your toys will save you? Velkin snarled, voice booming. Roots tore upward from the earth, thick as trunks, snapping at the flaming beasts. The bear met them head-on, claws slicing through wood, embers spraying like sparks off an anvil. The fox darted between them, igniting roots with every pass, while the raven shrieked and rained fire down, forcing Velkin to shield his face with a curtain of vines. I kept pressing forward, axe in hand. My lungs burned, my arms trembled, but every swing was sharpened by fury. I told you, Velkin, I roared, cutting down a thrall that clawed too close. I promised Sarah I'd come back for her. I promised I wouldn't stop. Velkin's body warped further, antlers twisting into gnarled crowns, bark splitting to reveal raw muscle beneath. He raised his arms, and the entire forest seemed to answer, trees leaning inward, shadows coiling tighter. She's already mine, he hissed, and Sarah's voice echoed faintly from the roots behind him, soft, pleading, unnatural. Grumpy. Stay. The sound cut me deeper than his claws ever could. My grip faltered, my chest tore open with doubt. But then I heard the merc's last words echoing in my head. Go get him, boss. My jaw set hard. My legs moved. Rage steadied me. Beside me, Naya floated above the ground, hair lifting in an unseen wind. Her eyes were voids of fire, her small hands wreathed in flame. He won't take her, she said, voice low, unshakable. Not while I'm here. Velkin roared, slamming both hands into the ground. Roots erupted everywhere, a forest come alive, writhing and snapping. The bear monster clamped down on one, tearing it free, while the fox leapt at Velkin's leg, jaws locking onto bark flesh and burning deep. The raven circled above, striking his eyes, forcing him to howl in pain. The battlefield turned into chaos. Flame and shadow, root and blood. And in the center of it all, Velkin fixed his gaze on me, lips curling into a snarl. Come then, little grumpy, he spat. Come and break yourself against me. I raised the axe, my teeth bared, my body screaming but my mind blazing. I'm not breaking, I growled. I'm ending this. Velkin's laughter rolled like thunder through the canopy. He straightened, sap gushing from his wounds but hardening into jagged plates of bark that armored his chest and limbs. His antlers twisted higher, branching like lightning into the sky, each fork glistening with unnatural light. The ground shook beneath his feet. He was changing, growing stronger, as if the forest itself had poured all its malice into him. Naya's fiery beast lunged, but Velkin swept his arm wide, vines sprouting barbs and thorns that tore through them. The fox yelped as roots constricted his throat. The raven was dashed against the trunk of a tree, and even the bear faltered under a net of brambles that smothered its flames. Naya strained, hands glowing, but Velkin's roots surged faster than she could burn them away. Do you see now, little grumpy? Velkin bellowed, his voice shaking branches loose overhead. You can wound me, but you cannot stop me. This forest is mine, and so are you. I stumbled back, every muscle screaming.
My axe felt like lead in my hands. Thralls pressed in again, their claws raking my arms and legs. One pinned me to the ground, its eyeless face inches from mine, hot breath rank with rot. I jammed the axe up into his chest, but 3 more dragged me down, their hands gripped with the strength of roots, holding me until my ribs creaked.
Velkin loomed, shadows stretching from him like a crown. Your promises are ash. You are insignificant. You will be mine.
I twisted, desperate. My pack scraped against the soil, spilling gear, flares, salt, paracord, and Naya's stuffed rabbit. My eyes locked on the flares. The thralls pressed harder, teeth snapping when I clawed one free. I struck it against stone, sparks hissing until crimson fire exploded in my grip. The thralls shrieked, stumbling back as the searing light burned their faces. I rammed the flare into a cluster of roots, and they burst into oily flame. Velkin reeled, his bark armor blistering from the heat. I lurched up, yanking the salt pouch from my belt. My hand shook as I scattered it in a wide arc. The air hissed. The thralls screamed and disintegrated into black mist, where the grains touched them. For a heartbeat, the clearing was mine again. But Velkin only laughed, deep and guttural, antlers glowing like molten iron. He slammed a clawed hand into the ground, and a wall of roots erupted between me and Naya, splitting us apart. Sarah's voice echoed again, louder, laced with Velkin's venom. Grumpy. You promised. My heart cracked under the sound, doubt gnawing like teeth at my resolve. I dropped to one knee, the flare sputtering low. My arms trembled, the axe heavy, my body close to breaking. Velkin's shadow fell over me as he raised his hand, claws gleaming. Kneel, little Grumpy. Accept the roots. Accept me. And for the first time, I felt the weight of failure pressing me into the soil. My strength faltered, and the promise I'd clung to for Sarah slipped like sand through my fingers. Velkin loomed over me, claw raised when the ground shuddered with a force that wasn't his. From where my pack had spilled, Naya's stuffed rabbit twitched. Its button eyes burned red, fabric seams stretching and tearing. Fur split and expanded, limbs elongating grotesquely until the tiny toy was no longer a toy, but an 8-foot monstrosity. A hybrid of gorilla muscle and rabbit form. Its long ears swinging like whips, its massive fists slamming into the soil with bone-shaking weight. Velkin's expression twisted from triumph to shock. What is this? He spat. The creature roared, a guttural, thunderous sound that rattled the roots around us. It lunged, massive fists pummeling Velkin's bark armor, shattering pieces of it with each blow. Velkin staggered, caught off guard, forced back as the rabbit hybrid pummeled him with brutal primal strength. Naya floated into view from behind the collapsing wall of roots, her eyes blazing, her hands ignited with streams of fire. She struck again and again, her flame searing through Velkin's defenses, forcing him lower and lower under the combined assault. I staggered to my feet, the axe slick in my hands, every muscle screaming with exhaustion. But the moment Velkin faltered under the rabbit's crushing fists and Naya's burning waves, I saw my chance. I roared and charged, swinging with every ounce of strength left in me. The axe bit deep, burying itself into Velkin's chest, splitting through bark and sap and sinew. Black ichor sprayed across my face, hot and stinking. Velkin shrieked, his antlers thrashing, roots flailing wildly in a death spasm. The gorilla rabbit hybrid slammed him again, driving him down to his knees. Naya's fire surged, engulfing his form in a wolf-shaped blaze that devoured shadow and bark alike. With one last wrench, I ripped the axe free, and Velkin collapsed, his body unraveling into smoke, ash, and splinters that howled as they disintegrated into the soil. The ground shook, the forest wailed, and then
Silence.
I fell to one knee, chest heaving, eyes locked on the ashes where Velkin had been. The gorilla rabbit hybrid stood for a moment longer, panting like a beast victorious, before its form cracked and folded back into the small, singed plush. It dropped into the dirt, lifeless once more. Sarah's voice whispered faintly behind me, weaker, fragile, grumpy.
Her voice cut through the silence, fragile but real. I spun, nearly dropping the axe. There she was, Sarah, half hidden among the roots where Velkin had once bound her. Her hair was tangled, her skin pale as bark, and her eyes clouded as if the forest still clung to her. Yet when she looked at me, I saw a flicker, a spark of the Sarah I knew. Grumpy, she whispered again, her lips trembling. The nickname hit harder than any wound. I stumbled toward her, falling to my knees at her side. Sarah, I'm here. I told you I'd come back. The roots that held her were brittle now, cracked and blackened from Velkin's death. I hacked at them with the axe until they fell away, each strike fueled by desperation. She winced as the bindings broke, but never cried out. Just fixed me with those clouded eyes. Naya hovered nearby, silent for once, her stuffed rabbit tucked against her chest again. She watched with that unnerving stillness, like a predator deciding if the hunt was finished.
I cradled Sarah, shaking her gently. Sarah, it's me. You're safe.
She gave me a small, tired smile, the kind she used to give when I overreacted to some prank. You always were stubborn.
Before I could answer, the ground shuddered. The trees groaned. Velkin's realm was unraveling. The great roots split and fell, shadows dissolving like smoke and wind. Sarah trembled in my arms, and for a terrifying second, I thought she'd vanish with it.
Then slowly her skin warmed, color blooming back into her cheeks. The cloudiness in her eyes lifted, leaving only tears. She clung to me, weak but alive, whispering, Grumpy, you really came back. I held her tighter, tears blurring my vision. I promised, didn't I?
The forest cracked and screamed around us, collapsing into ruin. But for the first time since I'd fallen out of that portal, I felt something other than rage and despair. I felt hope.
The forest crumbled around us, Velkin's power dissolving into ash and silence. The shadows that had haunted every breath finally withdrew, leaving only the sound of the wind and the creak of dying trees. I held Sarah close, her breathing shallow but steady, her warmth returning like the sun after a long storm. Every second she stayed in my arms felt like proof that Velkin was truly gone.
Naya stood a few paces away, the stuffed rabbit limp in her hands. Her gothic dress was singed, her converse streaked with ash, but her expression hadn't changed. Cold, watchful, unreadable. When she finally looked at me, her eyes reflected no triumph, no joy, just the weight of something ancient. You have her back, she said softly. My part here is done.
I wanted to thank her, to ask what she was, why she helped, but the words stuck. She turned before I could find them, stepping into the thinning veil of smoke and ruin. One blink, and she was gone, leaving only the faint scent of burnt cedar where she had stood. I sat with Sarah on the cracked earth, my arms tight around her. She was weak, whispering half-formed words, but her grip on me was real. That was enough. I brushed the hair from her face and forced myself to breathe.
Then the emptiness hit. The space where the Merc should have been. His laughter, his rough jokes, the way he'd called me boss like he actually believed in me. All of it gone, buried in this cursed place. My chest ached with grief, but there was no time for mourning. Not yet.
The forest finally stilled. Roots crumbled, the fall sky shattered into streaks of real dawn.
I rose slowly, Sarah leaning against me, her weight light as memory, with one arm holding her and the axe still gripped in the other. I took a step forward. For the first time since Sarah was taken, I felt the path ahead wasn't blocked by shadows. I whispered to her, to the Merc's memory, to myself. It's over. We made it out. And whatever comes next, we face it together.
The last fragments of Velkin's realm faded behind us. We stepped into the living forest once more, battered, scarred, but alive. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope wasn't just a lie I told myself.
Hope was real, and I was carrying it in my arms,